Hey, this is Eric Gardner with the Hey Eric podcast, and today we're on episode 24, and I'm interviewing a friend and another business owner, Brian McOmie. I've probably known him for 4 to 5 years. A mutual friend of ours introduced us to each other a while back, and he does a lot of stuff. He is a professional bartender, owns a large businesses, does a ton of bartending, and he's bartended for me before. He's been with the bike race since we started that 4 years ago. He also, during the pandemic, he got into producing like mixers, syrups. I'm sure we'll go into that because they're really good. And he also just took over a coffee shop business, among other things. So he knows a lot. He knows a lot of people, and he knows his business very well. So Brian, welcome, and give us a little bit of that background, I guess.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate you having me on here. Like you had mentioned, my name is Brian McOmie. I'm the owner of your favorite bartender, your favorite cafe if it's in the coffee world. We recently took that one over in August, actually, the coffee shop, so that's fairly recent. But yeah, we station, we're a bartending staffing company, so we're stationed for about 51 employees. Currently, some part-time, some full-time, and we get out and, like I said, people hire us out for different events. We go from anywhere from like a 10-person dinner party to thousands and thousands of people events, just depending on what the client needs. We specialize more in like a corporate or event bartending staffing company. We do weddings, we do house parties and stuff like that, but our core business is events and corporate.
Yeah, I know you did a house party for one of my friends a while back.
I did. It's good times.
And yeah, he was appreciative of that. So how long ago did you start your favorite bartender? Or what was the backstory? How'd you get into that?
Sorry about that. Your favorite bartender's been around, let's think. So 2015 is about when it really started getting. 2015 is about when it really started getting moving. We got into 2017 is when the LLC actually opened up. We were kind of doing it beforehand. I worked at a bar. I've been in the bar business for over 23 years. Actually more than that. That was 23 years ago, a few years back. So probably about 25 years, not to date myself by any means.
So you got into the bar business at 15 years old?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
12.
Yeah, 12.
But so when I was 21, I obviously got in the bar business. And then that kind of started leading to a lot of our regulars were like, hey, you should come to our Christmas party. You should come do this. And kind of got me moving into that direction. I was like, there is really a business in this. Obviously I had to put in for my insurance for it, and it takes a couple of years in order to get your insurance for that to make sure that you don't have any flaws against you or any issues that arise, and obviously once that kind of went into place, then your favorite bartender kind of kicked in, and we went into full run. I think it was February that following year we actually got our very first corporate event and our first insured liquor liability.
Well, you think so? At Blackwood Realty Group, we've kind of done like a little Christmas get together with either clients or with employees, etc. And the very first one we did it was like the fall of 2017, right after we opened. We didn't have a bartender, and what happens when you don't have a bartender?
Turns into a shit show.
Yes. There was people. Yeah, I won't go into detail, but that's exactly right. And I think the next one is after I met you, and you actually came and did that one.
Yeah, I did.
And which helps a lot because guess what? There's someone who separates, the good guys from the bad guys, or like the liability, or just the liquor and the beers behind a table rather than just on a countertop.
Yeah, well, it's a free for all. What happens is what most people don't realize is if you just have a free for all from a booze standpoint. If somebody were to leave that house or that event, and let's say, how do you think they're fine? They go out and get a wreck. If somebody were to die or something happened and the lawsuit comes on, that plays back onto the corporation.
Really?
So the first thing they do is they go after the company who threw that party and who is liable for this.
Yeah.
Who's the one that overserved the individual? Even though the person overserved themselves, they don't go after the person. Because then, typically, they might have money, but they go after the company that did it. They go after the building of where the event was taking place.
Yeah.
And so they go after landlords, they go after the corporations. They go get the money from them.
Jesus.
So that's what keeps us in business. That's why we are in business, is because of the liability we take on to hold our clients not responsible for any overpouring or any issues happen to rise. The client doesn't have to worry about it. We cover it through our liquor liability.
Yeah. Okay. And that's all through the DABC, I imagine?
Yeah, so with the DABC, that gets into the layout of whether you're permitting, if you're going to sell liquor or not. But that's actually through our insurance itself. It's called dram shop law. Every bar carries it. We carry an additional, so the state laws are $1 million, $2 million for dram shop. We carry an additional $1 million policy because we work on dry campuses and we are registered through federal companies.
Okay.
As well as, so we can do national parks and stuff like that.
Oh.
Where if you have a 1-2, you can't. So we have a 2-3, so we carry a full additional $1 million policy on both ends.
Okay.
Comprehensive and aggregate, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
For it.
Well, that's cool. And so, yeah, I know you've told me a handful of the clients' names just in conversations, and you seem to do some big parties. It seems like the bike race, we worked on that since 2019. And while that gets a good turnout, it sounds like some of these corporate parties are just as big.
Oh, they are. And I'll try to not talk about the clients' names just for protection from that standpoint. So we'll keep their names out of the pictures. But yeah, we have Christmas parties, 4,800, 3,800. We're working on another one out near Coachella right now, which will be about 8,000 to 9,000 people. We've done events, 60,000 people over a 6-day event.
Yeah.
So there's some larger scale stuff that we've done. We have a lot of other stuff in the works right now. In fact, later this afternoon, I have a meeting to pick one up. There will be about probably 20,000 plus 30,000 people that are going to attend the actual thing, up to maybe 100,000, depending on the event itself. So
yeah, that's huge. That's awesome.
We're going to scale it for them, help them out. So
well, yeah, and that's Utah. We have. I actually went to, so in part of my research for our bike race, the Salt Lake Criterium, I went to Tulsa to follow them around.
Yeah, I should have gone with you.
And the liquor laws there are insanely different.
100%.
There are no fences. No. It's just people wheeling coolers around anywhere they want. It's insane.
That's our legislation.
Yeah, I know it is. And then I go to my friend's race in Boise for the Boise Twilight Crit, and his laws are very similar to Utah laws. Yeah. And it's just different. It's always crazy to see the different laws for liquor. Like my dad used to tell me a story about blue laws in Michigan, or in Indiana, where they lived in Michigan City, Indiana, and him and his dad would drive on Sunday morning, drive to Michigan to buy booze.
Sure.
Because you couldn't buy it in Indiana before noon.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
to go over the border. I mean, that happens all the time.
Probably, it still happens going to Evanston or Wendover, or anywhere there's a Lee's liquor.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves Lee's. We don't love Lee's, so there's our disclosure.
No,
we love the UDB. It's now called the Dabs.
Yeah, it is the Dabs. I saw that, and I saw a meme about it with Dabs.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how they pulled that name in. I'm like, of all names to name it after, you chose a marijuana?
Yeah. Hey, now they're competing with marijuana. Yeah. Granted, marijuana's not recreational yet, but. No. Maybe they're trying to, get some naming rights on that as it becomes.
Sure. They're a little behind that. I think there's a few companies out of California, Washington, Colorado, many other states that actually probably already have the trademark on the name Dabs. I'm sure of that. But it's a DABS now. They didn't want to have the DABC, which is control, as the C. So
now it's service, right?
Correct. They want to remove the control aspect. And they wanted to go to service.
Yeah, so. And they've always provided great service to me. So in relation to the Salt Lake Criterium, I always end up going there once or twice before the race to put up my bond, to get the beer garden layout done, and to get it approved. And they've always had amazing service for me.
Oh, they really are. They're not as hard. Most people think it's so hard to get a permit. It's really not that hard. The biggest kicker is time, right?
Yeah, you got to do it in advance.
So they require, depending on where it is, I think the paperwork reads 45 days. If it's not as long, they'll move quicker on it. But that's the biggest thing. Everyone's like, they do have rules, laws, and regulations you have to abide by. But that's what we do by hiring us, is we abide by those rules, laws, and regulations to make sure that we're not losing permitting. You're not, being kicked out and not able to sell liquor in the future. But as long as you have that 45-day tier and think ahead of the time and get the ball moving, they're so easy to work with. Like Anita's awesome to work with. She's great. Like they're just They do kind of legislation makes the laws. They enforce it in a sense. So.
Yeah. So if you have problems with Dabs, talk to the legislator. Don't worry. Don't talk to them because they're amazing people.
Yeah.
They are all amazing. But okay, so then we met in about 2018. Then 2020, the pandemic starts.
Oh yeah.
And your business is chopped up.
Oh, 100%.
Like done. Like no live events.
Complete
No.
halt.
So walk us through that March when it started.
Oh Lord, man.
And like the next 5 months, I guess, because so real estate did the same thing.
Yeah.
It just stopped. Like everything stopped.
Yeah.
The traffic on the freeway was non-existent because no one was going to work. And real estate, probably after 3 months, it started to normalize. And while everyone was taking precautions, because it's not a group gathering, it kind of started going again. Sure. And the Fed was doing so much. But events, they've been at a standstill for, it was at least a year, 2 years.
Oh yeah, close to 2 years. I mean, just this year really is when it's. I mean, last year a couple of people dabbled in it, but I mean, we do corporate, right? So a lot of them work from home, and you had to be vaccinated, and there were so many different rules, laws, and you had to check off the checklist, which is fine. We wanted to work, but we literally went from like a 40% monthly growth to a complete halt.
Yeah, and
I was like complete halt. And the crazy part is so one of my clients, they were the first ones to cancel on us, and it literally came to when we were sitting there chatting, and we were on a big conference call, and we got on this call. I was like, hey, we need to really have this call because the event's in like 4 days, and we're running into some issues. Do you have time? I'm like, sure, let's go through it. So this event we were doing for our clients, they have offices all over the world. And they were flying in all their C-level executives from each branch. So you're talking, you're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were coming in for this. And it got to the point when we were on our Zoom conference call for this whole meeting. And they were all on it like, I can't get out of China.
Yeah.
I can't leave Japan. I can't leave Singapore. I can't leave Brazil. I can't leave. So they were all from other countries. And they weren't able to get out. And if they did, they had to come here and they had to quarantine for 2 weeks and all these different things that were going on. The event was March 10th. So it was even before the state put anything into play. It was March 17th was the date.
Yeah.
That they put the moratorium in, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was the date in which everything went into it. But so when we sat down, then we got into more detail about, okay, what is this really? And at that point in time, after that phone call or that Zoom, that's when I just went, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have a lot of events cancel. So I reached out to all my bartenders. I got onto a big conference call, brought them all on one call. And I said, save your pennies, hold on to everything, don't spend any money. We're going to be in for a long closure. Because after speaking with them and we were going through it all, and I found out these certain things from these people of where it's coming in, and they said, buckle up, let's go. And so at that point in time, I had to figure out the next step. Knowing my events were going out, I had 120 events in 3 days cancel.
Wow.
3 days.
That's a ton.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was shocking. And we were finally getting to that. Yes, we're here. We're growing. This is getting the company. And it took a long time, when you're marketing and building a business, as most people know. And finally, I'm like, yes, finally we're building. This is going. I'm going to bring on a manager. I'm going to bring on all these different people. And it just came to a halt. So once that happened, I ended up having to pivot. And beforehand, we were doing our syrups. We were actually making our craft syrups. But we were making these concentrated syrups for our events because our clients were sick and tired of a Jack and Coke and an Old Fashioned and a Cape Cod and all these different things. And when you're doing events the size that we do, it's a need for speed. So you have to be able to burn and turn a drink quick because you don't have time to sit there and muddle a drink for 4 hours and take 5 minutes on a drink to hand it off to a client because you have a line of people.
Yeah.
So I had to sit down and figure this out. So we were using, we have like our ginger beer one and our hibiscus spice one. And those were our first two we rolled out. And we were utilizing those for our events for that holiday party and all that. And people were loving them because it's a quick way of making a cocktail. And it's a good, solid craft cocktail that's made fast. And when we were going through it, once I knew that the events were done and all the cancellations happened and my calendar just disappeared, I actually left everything on my calendar.
Yeah, I got some free time.
Yeah, I had a lot of free time. So then it was like, let's go run production.
Yeah.
But then we ran into the issue of production because all the sanitizers and the gloves and all these different things were coming into play. So we couldn't get bottles.
Well, I remember my first bottle I got from you was like a tall one
Like 25.
with like the cool cork little thing on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went down to Dollar Store, and I literally like the old what's the
Those weird like pop tops.
yeah, the pop top, the metal popper.
It's got the metal.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we went through all that, and I'd go into Dollar Tree and just go buy as many as I could. I'd buy them out of stock, and I'd go into the next Dollar Tree and buy all their bottles and go into the next one. So I would drive around all the different Dollar Trees and just go buy every bottle I could find that I could put syrups in. And then once I ran out of that one bottle, I'd use the next bottles. And so our bottles were constantly rotating. I mean, I partnered up with some of the local distilleries. I'm like, do you have any bottles? They're like, well, these are defect bottles, which just had like a wave in the glass or something like that they wouldn't use. It wasn't like a broken bottle or anything.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, let me buy these off you.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of getting whatever we could. And as everybody knows, everybody ran out of bottle issues. Like you couldn't find it anywhere. Even, the distilleries and the breweries and all these different places, they couldn't get their stuff. So we ran production as much as we could, and we couldn't keep up with it. We were building as fast as we could. We turned all of our bartenders into sales reps, and then we ran a big swag line, and I gave 100% of all the proceeds back to my bartenders. I said, whatever you sell, you get 100% of it.
Yeah.
So just to kind of keep money moving through them. We got our beautiful PPE.
Yeah.
And that was not PPE, the
PPP. Payment, something protection plan.
Yeah, correct. The loan.
Yeah.
We got $3,000 was all.
Yeah.
All these companies are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, and because the way that my bartenders were paid, because they were paid partially W-2 and then 1099 on some of it, they were able to not give us the money for it. So they're all W-2 now.
Yeah.
100% from the start and get-go. Even on the non-alcoholic drinks, we still W-2 them for them.
Yeah.
But so once we got that, I mean, how do you dispense that? At that point in time, I think there was 32 bartenders.
And you have $3,000.
$3,000.
Yeah.
So I partnered with R&R and reached out to them back when Roger owned it, and reached out to them and said, Roger, I need something. I need to be able to provide for my people. And so we made like at least a week's worth of food for every family.
Yeah.
And I paid out the bill for that, and then I ended up taking that, and I had everybody come over and meet, and I just dispersed it out so they could actually feed their family during the time to save their money, so they didn't have to go to the store to get out there. So,
wow.
And then they came back and maybe wanted me to pay it back, which is great. $3,000. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, government.
I pay way more in taxes than that.
Thanks, government. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that very much.
Thanks for the
loan.
recession. Don't worry, that'll all be forgiven in like 30 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Like student loan debt now.
Right. Absolutely.
Actually,
Can't wait.
That's still in the courts, so who knows?
But yeah, so that was, so really that's where the syrups came into play. And then we started just building off of it and started making them, and we started running production. We went from 2 to, like 6, and then it went to 8, and then we have 12, and we're going to probably drop a couple and move it back down to 10.
Yeah.
And we've been able to build that and partnered with a client of mine who we ran a SWOT analysis on it and did a huge SWOT analysis through everything during COVID, which was actually pretty impressive, because when you're trying to get we had 95 people, for taste testing and different scenarios for it.
Yeah.
So try doing that contactless and getting everybody to move it. The good thing is everybody had time.
Yeah.
So we were able to be like, okay, we're going to meet at this time at this place. And I just had like boxes of all the different syrups, and then I had tutorials and Zooms with them and like, hey, this is how you make them, and how to show them all how to make it so they could do it at home.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do the tasting in person.
Yeah.
So I gave it to them directly. So we did that huge SWOT analysis and a whole breakdown of everything, and we were able to go in and do a rebranding on our logos and our for the syrups and whatnot. And there was a lot that came into it. Looking back now, I'm like, how the hell did I do that? But we did it, and we had to. Yeah. And we had to move forward because I knew that we were going to be out at least a year.
Yeah.
Most of my clients told me, and that was in that March, or probably like May, that they weren't even coming back to the office till July of the next year.
Wow. So, yeah, from March 2020 to July of 2021.
Correct.
At the earliest.
So I knew that we'd have at least 1 year for it. And we had some people reach out like, oh, will you do our event? I'm like, no. So I did some. I did, little ones. I did one for the governor, which is really small. It was a 8-person event. Like literally the guideline was 12 at the time, I think, or 15.
Yeah.
We did 8, like half of it. And it was everybody spaced out. I had gloves on, a mask on. I was doing hot chocolate and with a shield in front of me. And it was extremely like I had vaccination cards to get into it. And, but it was, we had to do what we had to do in order to keep in business and keep moving forward. The syrups are what really saved us.
Yeah, and I didn't know actually that those were already kind of in the works before the pandemic, because I think you had first told me about them probably like May of
Correct.
2020 when I got that first bottle.
Yeah. And so with the syrups, because we were doing them per event, but we were just kind of making them as we went.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot to break out different syrups for each event that you're doing. And we were just so busy because of the growth that we were getting. I didn't have the time to run production on it. So people I would sell them out of oh, you want one? Here you go. We can sell it to you. And we would sell it to them, at the event.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I have 2 extra bottles here. You can have them.
Yeah.
Now, one of our clients, they're a pretty big shipping platform and shopping platform online. And their manager was buying cases of it, at that point in time. It was like, well, we need to get you at the top of our list, on our website. And I'm like, I would love to. How do we do that? And it was just, I couldn't do the production aspect of it now. So now I'm reaching back out to you.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get back out there and try to get back on that list and get to the top of their food chain, which is, good. That's what we want to be there. But they loved it. Like the people loved them, and with the feedback we got, I'm like, man, maybe we should run production on these. People are enjoying them. They're skinny cocktails, which most people don't realize. So every one of them that we make are all under 100 calories.
Yeah.
In the whole cocktail.
So that's because typically a shot of liquor is like 70 calories.
Yeah, roughly, give or take a little bit for 1 ounce.
50 to 70 calories for an ounce.
Yeah,
and that's like another, 30 to 50 or something.
Yeah, I mean, you get into ryes, they get a little bit higher. You
Yeah.
can get up close to 80 in a rye. But then when you add ours in, depending on which one, I mean, ours range down from like 14 calories up to 26 is the top.
Yeah.
And at 26, you're still like, that's our ginger beer. And so from just like our ginger beer itself, I mean, it tastes like a ginger beer. It is good. It's got full flavor, has everything you want in a ginger beer. The only difference is we call ours the ginger lime. But like Bundaberg, I think, don't quote me on this, but between Cock and Bull and Bundaberg, one's like 140 calories per bottle.
Yeah.
One's 180 or 170 calories and like 60 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Ours is 26 calories with 6 grams of sugar, total carbohydrates, not just sugar, total carbs.
Yeah, interesting.
Per drink. So you're talking like an eighth of the sugar content and like a tenth of the calorie content.
Yeah, and getting the sugar out of drinks is always a good thing, in my opinion.
100%. And the other thing, too, is they're all natural. So and even from the syrups themselves, we source everything local farmers. So we call it farm to bottle. That's our whole hashtag, farm to bottle. Go check it out. So, but the farm to bottle aspect of it is we buy from sustainable farmers here. So I did a post not too long ago on our social media where I was at the farm. It's called New Roots. It's done through the IRC, which is the refugees. Mm-hmm. So the refugees grow all of our fruits and vegetables. Not all, but whatever they can grow. I give them a list of everything I buy. They say, oh, we have watermelon, we have basils, we have pumpkins. And so we'll go out to them and we'll buy that fruit from them. The good thing is it's usually the stuff that we'll buy from them. It's like I don't have to make it look beautiful because I'm going to take it and,
it's not going into a
cook
grocery
it,
store.
juice it, whatever we're going to do with it, and we make it with all natural product.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it doesn't have to be beautiful. I can have the one that looks weird that nobody would buy because I'm going to take and use what's in the inside. I don't care about the exterior.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff that where it helps them not have to do that waste, right? They don't throw it away. Instead of throwing it away, they give it to me.
Yeah.
And I could take that and use it and go and work with it.
That's great. Well, that's really, it's cool how you made it through the pandemic, transitioning to that, and I'm glad it was already kind of going, so you just had to ramp it up. I know another thing that you're involved in that I see every fall, and that's the pig bus.
Yeah. Utah Pig Bus.
Yeah. So, and Oliver and I, we go tailgate with our neighbor and with a few other friends at the Utah games. So tell us about that, because it's kind of like a monster of its own. It's been on like College Game Day and stuff like that. What's
been
that?
Twice. College Game Day 2 times. First, we were the first official tailgate crew to actually feed the host on stage for College Game Day. Like, they normally would go and pick out like the local chef, whoever the best chef is. And it kind of came through Utah Athletics, actually. I believe they reached out to the athletic department or, through the alum or one of the divisions through the University of Utah. And they just said, hey, we're looking for a chef, for when we come into College Game Day. And they said, call the Utah Big Bus. So they reached out, and, of course, Welby and Lufkin and myself and Kirk, and there's Dustin and Kelly. There's like a whole crew of us that put it together. Most all of us are all entrepreneurs. Most all of us have our own businesses and stuff like that. So it's just kind of something fun to do through, just kind of keep us all together. We have a pretty good little crew. We feed anywhere from probably about 150 people a week to a couple hundred, 250, depending on what it is. The Utah Pig Bus, we're known for pigs. So we cook a pig. We're the first tailgate to ever use a La Cachina box, which is like it works like a conventional oven. That's this little box that we've been working with for years. But yeah, we've just been able to really get in there and set up the grind and put on some really cool, fun events. Obviously your favorite bartender has all the syrups there at every event. We reach out to a lot of our local. We try to make it as local. We go as local as possible as we can to that. So we always bring on different local beers, and we bring on different local distilleries.
Yeah.
And just make sure that it's an awesome little fun event for people.
Yeah.
We always do like a GoFundMe to come help us out, and that's just for the sense of like helping on some of the meals. Most of it we pay for it all. Like I pay for all the beer, typically for the setup. Not all of it. I mean, everybody kind of chips in on it, but we do like fundraisers and stuff like that to help keep Porky in line.
Yeah.
So Porky's the buzz.
Okay.
Keep Porky running. So we just did a facelift on Porky. Got a facelift, so we raised some money and we were able to go in and redo like the interior of it, like put in new cabinets that just needed to be redone and new flooring in there and like new benches and stuff like that, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you see, so at the Utah tailgates and probably most tailgates, there's always a handful of tailgaters who make it like a huge community thing where it's like people, it's a destination. Sure. Yours is like that. My friend Bill's is like that, because I know Bill, he doesn't necessarily feed a lot of people, but he helps a lot of people drink.
Sure, no, for sure.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of drinking there.
So he brings a whole bunch of cases of stuff, and people like go there because he's got his shot ski out, his beer bong thing. So, and it gets expensive, but those are destinations. He's the Octobong, isn't he? He is the Octobong.
I have hit it.
Yeah, but all those things, they definitely, they add up. So, but it's these community destinations. So when someone talks about like a Utah tailgate, there's, probably a handful. Oh, you need to stop by these, 3 or 4 tailgates, and Porky's and the Pig Bus crew is definitely one of them.
For sure. Yeah, and it's good, and we're very open. So, in fact, we even get to the staging of when the opposing team that we're playing that day, they reach out to us. They'll be like, hey, where do we go? And the alumni will be like, well, here's your tailgate spot. But if you really want to go tailgate, go see the Utah Pig Bus.
Yeah.
And so we hang out with like the USC Psycho. Roy and his crew, they bring everybody in. So like all the SC fans come in and they're like, this is the best tailgate spot. This is the best tailgate of all year. We look forward to Utah every single year. They're just so appreciative of the love that we bring to the people. And it's not just our guys, but it's everyone is allowed to come over there and hang out and have fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's good times.
Hey, so I want to ask real quick. So the syrup bottle I have, is that going to be a collector's item someday?
Yeah, yours is a way collector's item.
Because it's got the whole pop top.
Yeah, you probably have the one with the sticker on it, right?
Yeah, it's a sticker. And you told me I needed to rinse it out a lot because of how natural the ingredients were.
It is 100%. So that's the thing that separates us from anything else that's out on the market, is we're the only company that makes it 100% natural. So it is, if it says watermelon basil, it is real watermelon in there. It is real basil in there. We don't use any flavorings. We don't use any colors. We don't do any additives at all whatsoever. into the actual syrups themselves. So we'll be the first. We're working right now. We're scaling the business actually as we speak, and we're going to be the first USDA approved syrup out on the market. So
nice.
We don't, like I said, it took us a long time to find a manufacturer for it, because every manufacturer we spoke to was like, oh yeah, well, did you know you can just put a little flavoring of this oil in there and it'll make it taste just like it? I'm like, no, that's not what my syrups are. That's not what we want. The thing, there are calories in our drinks. However, what people don't realize is when you drink non-calorie products, so let's say, for example, Diet Coke. Sorry for anybody out there that's a Diet Coke fan, but it's extremely awful for you.
Yeah.
The reason why it is non-calorie is there's different sugars that they use for it and stuff like that, and it's very harming to the body. I sat through universities with different sugar companies. St. Lyle is one of the companies. Probably disclose that, but I sat through it all and like, oh, how harming is this with kidneys and livers and these different things that people are putting in their system? They came up with stevia, they came up with monk fruit, allulose, and all these different non-calorie sugars.
Yeah.
When I started looking at it and you're breaking it down, it really got to the point where like, wow, so those are damaging to your livers. That is damaging to your kidney. And every time I asked a question to them, like, hey, what about this? What about this? Oh, well, I would refer you to our book, and in our booklet, it says here, I'm like, well, will you not just answer the question? I'm asking you point blank in an email.
Yeah.
Is this damaging to a liver? Does this damage a kidney?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't answer the question. They just kept referring to the book. So
Yeah.
at that point in time, I'm like, I will not be putting any of that in my syrup. I would rather have the true calories from the natural fruit. And from, there is some added sugar into it, but it's an organic cane that we do. So it's a sugar in the raw. It's a raw sugar we can find. And unprocessed raw. So from that standpoint, the stuff we're putting in there, is there some in there? Absolutely. But watermelon has sugar in it. Pineapples have sugar in it. Berries have sugar in it. But it's the correct sugars you're putting in your system. I'm not saying that it's a healthy drink. Well, it's not a diet drink.
That goes back to the whole, diets. Remember when all I did was eat bananas and fruit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, in the diet world, there's, the carb, the protein, and I don't know what the other thing is. I'm really bad at diets.
No, I get it.
But
I should be on
board. But I know people would always like, why are you eating all that sugar? I'm like, I don't know. It's sugar from the earth.
Yeah.
It's natural. Like,
it's a natural sugar.
And I burn a lot of it because I bike a lot. So it's like, it burns. Like, I don't need, you need some protein in your body. Absolutely. But I don't need that much of it. Like, I'm not getting swole.
No, yeah.
But that natural sugar, it's just so much better for you because your body burns it better.
100%. Yeah, and you process it a lot better.
Yeah.
And everything that we get is, like I said, it's all from the earth. And every single thing that's in that bottle is 100% from the earth, one way or another.
Yeah.
There's zero. I mean, even reverse osmosis water, right? Like, so we take out all the impurities of waters and stuff like that to put it in there to make for our syrups themselves.
Nice.
So from that standpoint, we really take it into the next level of like, our thought is, if I don't want to put it in my body, why should I put it in somebody else's?
That's
and most people look at it from a profitability standpoint. Yes, it is a lot more less expensive. I mean, my sugar that I buy is extremely, I could cut it in a third and pay for what you can get normal sugar at, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. I put in a higher quality sugar because it's what you're putting in your system.
Yeah.
Alcohol's already good enough to put in your system, right?
Yeah, it's super clean.
Yeah.
It helps you sleep better every night.
It is the best thing.
But that's the other thing with your craft syrups, you can mix those with other stuff. Like I've done that before, where it's like you don't have to put the alcohol in it.
None whatsoever. They're mocktails, cocktails, so they're a non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
So we sell them all the time. Like, I have friends that are like, my child loves this, and now I got him not drinking Sprites and Cokes and Capri Suns and all these other things. They utilize mine. So all you do is it's just a concentrated product. So you just put a half ounce of our product in with a soda water, or carbonated water. Like you can do flat if you want, but whether it's a club soda or sparkling water or mineral water, or whatever it is, you can have flavored, and a half ounce of our product. And that's it. And that makes your drink, and it's light, refreshing, and I mean, really, the cocktails are extremely balanced on it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't. Once they get into the tier of what the drink is, they're like, I would never have thought to put watermelon, basil, and whiskey together.
Yeah.
Or tequila together.
Yeah.
They're universal too. So you can buy one mixer and have 9 different spirits, and still with those 9 spirits, that one bottle will go through it, and each bottle has 16 drinks.
That's cool.
So it's a huge, it's a shelf space saver for bars and restaurants that like to carry them in different locations. Or you can be an at-home bartender, and when somebody comes to your house, you're making them a craft cocktail in 10 seconds, and the people are like, whoa, what did you do? How did you do? I didn't know you could make cocktails.
I took a class. It's
yeah,
cool.
Right? Totally. You get to that next tier, and they make them look professional, and it's very easy to make at home.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's a three-step process, and you're done.
That's
it's so
cool.
easy.
Well, cool, Brian. Well, I'm glad you stopped by my office, and we got to record this. So maybe before we finish up, tell people where they can find your stuff, find you online,
Sure.
and if they need bartending services too.
Yeah, so bartending services is yourfavoritebartender.org. It took me a while to buy .com. Somebody else owned it. So .org, it's not a nonprofit. It is for profit, but that is where you get the bartending services. If you want for an event, just go into the event link. It's 10 seconds. Just fill it out, and you can. It's 10 lines. It takes literally maybe 30 seconds to do it. Any of the syrups are yourfavoritebartender.com. Or if you want, Instagram is usually where we do most of our chatting back and forth, but that's at your favorite bartender co, like company, CO. Come down and take a visit. And like I said, we're happy to help you out and happy to serve if needed.
Yeah.
Love working with all people. Like I said, it doesn't matter what event, any place, anywhere. So
yeah, and I know we always have them at the bike race. So if you're there, you can try them out and meet Brian and his crew.
yeah, that'd be great. Well,
Cool.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks, man.
It was great.
See ya.
Cheers, brother.